Say it with me, you are not a dumb bitch. Hi, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Lolita, and today we're here to talk about why we can't read that book. Okay, first, what do I mean by the title? I don't mean that you can't read a book because you're illiterate. If you can't actually read the alphabet, then I'm so sorry to say that your education system has failed you, and unfortunately, that is not a problem that I can solve today. What I actually mean by that is you can't pick up a book, or you're finding it very difficult to finish it, to get through the whole thing. Maybe you can't finish a paragraph, or maybe you can't absorb the words that are right in front of you. That is what I mean by the title. Now, if you click on this video, chances are you're currently experiencing this, or you have experienced this in the past. And I think that this is something that happens to everyone. So if you're feeling pretty bad about this, I'm here to tell you that you are not alone in this struggle. And I hope that makes it better, somehow. Okay, just to be clear, I am not an expert in anything, nor am I claiming to be one. I am here to share my thoughts, my experiences, my observations, and my fury. If you find this video helpful, then great, I'm glad to be of help. You're reading a bad book. I guess this is the most obvious reason for not being able to read a book. It's just bad. Plain and simple. I can't serve you food that you actively hate and expect you to eat it, let alone finish it. It just doesn't make sense. I wouldn't do that, not unless you pay me $1 million. And even then, I might be hesitant. But I think bad when it comes to literature is subjective. I think there are books out there that are objectively poorly written, but I think it still depends on your acquired taste, or whether you have taste or not. That's not meant to be an insult, by the way. I just mean that, okay, for example, Twilight is poorly written. We know this. This isn't controversial. But did I devour that book as a child? Hell yeah, absolutely. Because it was the first book that I ever read. I read that when I was like, I don't know, 11 years old. And at the time, I had no taste. I had no standards. I was more focused into reading itself, the act of reading, than what I was reading, than what I was consuming. So yeah, I thought that it was good because I had no experience. 50 Shades of Grey, also poorly written, but I DNF'd the shit out of this book because by then I was 18, I had already developed some sense of critical thinking skills. Be okay with the fact that just because a book is popular doesn't mean that it's automatically good. Or, you know, maybe it is good, but it could be bad for you. I hope you don't feel pressured by people who say, oh, you have to read this book because you're missing out on life. Especially when you feel like it's not worth pursuing. If it's bad for you, then it's bad for you. Don't wait for anyone else to agree. Your experience is valid. And by the way, you shouldn't be forcing yourself to finish a book. You are free to abandon a book anytime, and you are also free to pick it up when you feel like it. You're reading the wrong genre. I don't know if this is a universal thing. I think there comes a point in our life when we realize that we have outgrown the things we used to love. Okay, during my teenage years, I was into YA fiction just because they were all the rage. I would see people from my school reading popular books like Percy Jackson series, I Am Number 4, The Selection series, Divergent, Hunger Games, blah blah blah. And I was the target audience for that genre, so it made sense for me to want to consume that. But now that I've gotten back into regular reading, I realized that I don't like it so much anymore. Okay, don't get me wrong, I don't hate it. I still actively read YA fiction. I still have books in my TBR that are YA fiction, but also I'm just not crazy for it anymore, you know? Based on the language and the word count, it is relatively an easy read, but I'm just not as excited for it anymore as I used to be. I find that it's taking a lot of my energy to actually go through with it. Also, I just want to say that I don't like to read about teenagers anymore, especially if it's set in high school. It feels painful for some reason, and I think it's because it's reminding me of a time when it used to be relatable to me, and I particularly hate that time of my life. But I can say that I've outgrown it, and it's fine. It's perfectly normal, it's just part of life. It happens, and I think that's a symptom of growth. If you're new to reading, maybe consider that a specific genre is not for you. Maybe the reason you can't enjoy, I don't know, Wuthering Heights or Gatsby is because you prefer stories that are set in the present. Maybe the reason you can't read or enjoy contemporary fiction is because it reminds you too much of the present time and it doesn't serve as a good enough escapism. I think that before you give up on reading completely, especially if you're new to this, it's worth giving other genres a chance before you make that decision. Because who knows, maybe nonfiction is your cup of tea after all. Explore, surprise yourself. It's gonna be fun, I swear. It's gonna be worth it. You never really know unless you try. Also, I think that knowing what you don't like is just as important as knowing what you do like. You're reading the wrong level. So there's this thing called the Flesch-Kincaid Reading Ease Test.
Kincaid?
And it's a readability test designed to indicate how difficult a passage in English is to understand. There's math in this because it's a formula, so I'm not even gonna... Can we not? Basically, the passages are evaluated through this formula, and from that, the scores will indicate its readability level. The higher the score, the easier it is to read. I have to say that I have reservations about this method. I don't think it's not valid, I'm just saying that it's not exactly accurate. My point is that there are reading levels, and this is worth understanding if you're planning on reading books. Okay, just as an exercise, let's make our own reading level. Just for fun, okay? Let's say, for example, there are 10 levels, and the higher the level, the more difficult it is to read or to consume. Okay, level 1, let's say social media posts, yeah? Piece of cake. Level 2, maybe books meant for 9 to 12 years old. Still easy. Now let's say that level 10 is Shakespeare. See, if you're a beginner in reading and you decide to jump into Shakespeare right away, chances are you're gonna get bored, you're gonna feel dumb, especially if you don't understand the context, if you have no background information about the Elizabethan literature. And if you don't understand what's happening, it's unlikely that you're going to enjoy it. Am I saying that you shouldn't be reading Shakespeare? No. I'm saying you might be inclined to read something else first, say, I don't know, Harry Potter or Stephen King or even Gatsby. Think of it like math. Painful, I know, but bear with me on this. We don't jump into algebra right away, right? No, we don't do that. We learn the fundamentals first. And sometimes reading is like that, especially if you're taking it seriously. If you find yourself having a difficult time digesting a piece of literature, maybe it's a level 9 and you're currently at level 6? You're not dumb, okay? You're not dumb. Say it with me, you are not a dumb bitch. You just haven't unlocked a certain skill yet. Does that make sense? The point that I'm trying to make is that be conscious of the material that you're reading. Because there's no shame in not understanding whatever the fuck is happening in this book. It's fine. You just need to gain more experience first. Because reading does get easier the more you do it. And this is something I've learned recently. If you want to take reading more seriously, you have to be patient with yourself. Okay, mental health problems. I'm not going to go into detail about this one simply because I don't think I'm qualified and I don't want to risk diagnosing or misdiagnosing anyone here. But I think it's also important to include this section in this video because I know that this is the reality for some of us, myself included. So some people have difficulty reading or focusing in general because they have mental health problems or mental illnesses. Dyslexia, for one, is a learning disorder that involves difficulty reading due to problems identifying speech sounds and learning how they relate to letters and words, or decoding. I mean, it is literally called a reading disability. There is also ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's a mental health disorder that includes a combination of persistent problems such as difficulty paying attention, hyperactivity, and impulsive behavior. Also, I think this is pretty obvious, but if you're experiencing a depressive episode, then it can be extremely hard for you to do things, even when that thing is something you're passionate about. And that includes reading. Now, I'm not saying that just because you have a difficulty reading, you have any of these mental health problems. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that it's a possibility for some of us. Not for everyone. But if you think that is serious and it's affecting other parts of your life, then I suggest you go see a professional, an actual professional who can help you with this. Not me, an actual professional. If you can think of other reasons why we're having difficulty reading or finishing a book, your thoughts are very much welcome down below in the comment section. And in case I was misinformed in something I said in this video, please kindly educate me down below as well. And if you're still watching this, then you are now required by law to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Okay, that's it. Bye.